Day after China said that it was willing to discuss the possibility of an alternative arrangement to other routes for the Kailash Mansarovar pilgrims, the Dragon has done a U-turn. China now claims that Indian troops have trespassed in Chinese territory, and no meaningful dialogue between India and China is possible till the Indian border troops pull back. So quite interesting developments coming in. Remember, first, of course, a statement had hinted at a climbing down of China's position, and now, of course, you have an absolute U-turn being done by China through this fresh reaction that has come in. China now claiming that the Indian troops have trespassed Chinese territory, and no meaningful dialogue between the two countries is possible till Indian border troops pull back. And this, of course, remember, has come just shortly after China said that it was willing to discuss the possibility of an alternate arrangements through other routes for Kailash Mansarovar pilgrims.
It is the Indian side that trespassed the Chinese territory and changed the status quo. As to Indian security concern, the Indian side crossed a delimited boundary into other countries' territory in the name of a security concern, no matter what kind of activities it conducts there, which will not be acceptable for any sovereign state. As far as the solution is concerned, the Indian border troops pull back to the Indian side of the boundary unconditionally and immediately. This is the precondition for any meaningful dialogue between China and India.
All right. Well, this, of course, is the big story we are getting for you. That was a reaction of the Chinese spokesperson there speaking out. Remember, of course, it's a curious U-turn done by the Dragon. Once again, its aggressive posture continues. Ashish Singh, Strategic Affairs Editor, joining us for further updates. Ashish, this is a very curious U-turn from the Chinese side after a statement indicated a climb down of its position. Now a strong reaction through a spokesperson bite. So this is the big story we are tracking for you this hour, a day after China said that it was willing to discuss the possibility of an alternative arrangement through other routes for the Kailash Mansarovar pilgrims. The Dragon doing a U-turn. China claiming that the Indian troops have trespassed Chinese territory, and no meaningful dialogue between India and China is possible. Saurav Sanyal joining us now with more updates. Saurav, a curious U-turn. What really explains this difference of stand within the Chinese statement and now, of course, this Chinese spokesperson bite?
Well, that's right, Uday. In fact, this is a complete U-turn of sorts which has come in from China, because China, we have seen aggressively, has been trying to raise its pitch against India, and particularly blaming India for incursions within the Chinese territory, something which does not hold any water whatsoever, a charge which has been completely refuted by the Indian establishment. But here we see that China, after it was exposed on how it is sending snooping ships to the Indian Ocean, how they're carrying out repeated incursions into Indian territory, when China was exposed before the world community, China decided to hit back and level false and baseless allegations at India. And over the impasse surrounding the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, we saw that China then first come up with a statement and said that they are open to dialogue and they are keen to resolve the issue. But then, within 24 hours ahead of this very important meet between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese Premier Xi Jinping, we see that China issuing this video statement, which has been accessed by NewsX, and here they are clearly putting the onus on India. They say that India is violating international laws and that India has to withdraw its troops from Chinese territory, and only then will any talks be held. So China continuously trying to target India, China training guns on India over there for no rhyme or reason.
Yes, and in fact, Ashish, that's why it was a very conciliatory tone which was welcomed by India in that statement that was sent out by the Chinese late last evening, when they acknowledged that the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra does hold a lot of importance for religious purposes for several Indians. And it is the Shubh time for the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra currently. And now, of course, China indicating that it will not allow that Yatra to continue until the Indian troops pull back according to them.
Well, China is clearly rattled by the way that India is establishing its position in on the world stage. So clearly we saw that after the very successful U.S. visit by Prime Minister Modi, how the Prime Minister Modi has now also found a friend in Benjamin Netanyahu during this ongoing Israel visit. So while the world community hails India and has understood India's concerns surrounding its troublesome neighbors, so China clearly aligning with Pakistan, trying to needle India at every available opportunity, but here leveling completely false and baseless allegations of Indian troops intruding into Chinese territory in Doklam. Now, Doklam is very much a part of the Indian soil, so clearly there is no question and there is no substance in the baseless allegations that are being leveled by China. So India is very, very clear that India respects the sovereignty of every country, and here China is trying to play the victim card. China is accusing India of violating international protocol and sending in troops into its territory, and clearly linking this issue, the ongoing standoff in Sikkim, with the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, which, as you rightly pointed out, holds a very, very special place for pilgrims in India.
All right, Saurabh, just stay with us. We're also being joined by Ashish Singh now, back on the broadcast. Ashish, clearly, of course, a curious U-turn that we are evaluating done by China. What really explains this difference in stand between what came out in a statement late last evening and then this spokesperson bite that we broke early this morning?
Well, there are two main things. One, at around 10 o'clock yesterday evening, the Chinese embassy here in New Delhi issued a press statement in which it's a 3-paragraph statement in which the last paragraph clearly says, and I will, in fact, would like to quote and read that exact line for a benefit of our viewers, and meanwhile as well on screen. The last line clearly says that China consistently respects the Indian people's religious sentiments and attaches importance to Indian yatra to Kailash and Mansarovar in Zhejiang. Up to now, the official yatra to Letu Pass and non-official yatra to Lhasa and Kurang are still on the rails. We are willing to discuss. This is the most important line, that we are willing to discuss the possibility of alternative arrangements throughout other for Indian official yatris who had planned to visit Kailash and Mansarovar via Ratla Pass. This was the statement issued around 10 p.m. yesterday. And now what has happened, late night around midnight yesterday, around 12 o'clock is when a video bite has been uploaded by the Chinese embassy. Going by the Chinese embassy's president, it's very rare that they either give an interview or they issue any kind of bite or even they issue a statement. These are extremely rare phenomena that's happening. But yesterday midnight, the political counselor of the Chinese embassy here in New Delhi, his name is Mr. Li, the man on the screen.
Right.
He has issued a press video bite for the press, in which basically in one line I would say it's a threatening message.
Absolutely. Just stay with us, Ashish. We are also being joined now by Naresh Chandra, former diplomat. Naresh Chandra, what do you make of this fresh provocation by China? Very aggressive message being sent out through video by the Chinese, which is a complete U-turn from what they had said in a statement released by the Chinese embassy in New Delhi late last evening.
Yes, obviously, you know, they are the embassy in New Delhi are acting under instructions. There are some very unusual elements in the latest move. One is that nations don't communicate with each other on bites uploaded on the WhatsApp or whatever channel. So this is a new one. But, you know, there is a mixed message that I seem to be getting. There is a silver lining. You know, one is that they have made this move, which appears very big, at a very low diplomatic level, below the ambassador level. Second is that they seem to be wanting to not lose face. That's why they have made a precondition On the other hand, there is a hidden, more conciliatory message about alternate arrangements, about the Chinese government respecting the religious sentiments of Indians, and also talking of alternate arrangements. So we have to see how things go. I have a feeling that while rebutting the charge is inherent in the statement of the political counselor, government of India would see an opportunity and through diplomatic channels seize the opportunity to start talks.
Now, Mr. Chandra, this is extremely interesting given the fact that it comes just shortly before Prime Minister Modi will be interacting with Xi Jinping at the G20 summit in Hamburg. There is no bilateral, of course, scheduled, but the fact is the two leaders will be meeting on the sidelines of the G20 summit when the BRIC nation leaders come together.
No, I was coming to that. So what they are doing is that they are laying the ground as much favorable to themselves as possible. So what needs to be done is, for government of India, the crucial question is that do they do something on the ground to improve the possibility of a successful resolution when the two heads of governments meet, or we continue to stick to our stand and leave matters to be decided or resolved by the two heads of governments when they meet on the sidelines of the G20 meeting.
Right. And Mr. Naresh Chandra, a quick question, before you leave us. I have to ask you on the resolution then to this standoff, because we are seeing very aggressive posturing by the Chinese. They're clearly unhappy for some reason, be it about the deepening of ties of India and the United States, be it the recent visit, of course, of Prime Minister Modi's to Israel. They'll be looking very closely at how we had boycotted that Obor summit. So there's clearly been deterioration of relations between the two nations and aggressive posturing from China's end. How do you see this standoff coming to an end for now?
Oh, that is true. There are higher issues involved. But if we keep what are the important factors in the local situation, I have a feeling that they are improving the infrastructure on their sides. And this area which has come under dispute, they feel that it either threatens their infrastructure plans, or they feel that it will give India a permanent advantage to weaken the efforts that they are making in this area. So I think the ball is in play. The key words we have to seize on are alternate arrangements, as they say, and also the statement that they have always respected the religious sentiments of the Indian people.
Okay.
So these 2 points lead me to a certain hope that the issue could be resolved through dialogue.
All right, Naresh Chandra, thanks for joining us with your perspective on this story. Let's go back to Ashish Singh. Ashish, speaking about the flip-flop now. Now, we do know, of course, the Chinese aggressive posturing has been on for a while. NewsX has, in fact, been breaking successive stories of their tactics, be it at sea, be it through the aerial route, or be it on land as well. But, that statement was a climb down, which had come in late last evening. Is there a confusion in the strategy vis-a-vis India? What's really leading to this U-turn that we've seen in the last 12 hours?
We don't know exactly. To be very frank, it appears the kind of back-to-back statements that have been issued by the Chinese embassy, first through a press release and then through a video bite. It clearly suggests that there is a flip-flop happening within the Chinese government. Something has gone wrong. What was released yesterday at around 10 p.m. is certainly not of the same tone and of the on the same angles that has been released at around midnight. Despite you see of the person, political counselor of the Chinese embassy situated in New Delhi, Mr. Li Ya, this bite came at around midnight yesterday. Unprecedented, something very unusual. No government at midnight releases a video bite for media and for the public consumption, but this is exactly what has happened. In fact, I was going through all the official channels of the communication from the Chinese embassy side, and what I've been given to understand that this is unprecedented. The Chinese government hardly reacts to media. They hardly give any bite any quote, any interview to media, specifically in India. And this is what exactly is happening in a span of just 2 hours. First, the press statement, and then a video statement. And both of them are extremely, I would say, poles apart. In the press statement, what they're mentioning that they're open for talk as far as reopening Natula Pass is concerned. And I quote what they claim is only on the basis of the religious sentiments of Indian people. But just 2 hours after that, remember the first statement was released at around 10 p.m. and 2 hours after that, at around midnight, this bite in the last part in this video bite, it clearly suggests that they are threatening the Indian side, Indian army, to pull back forces unconditionally and immediately. This certainly is a statement which has a lot of threats involved in this, and these are something that is difficult to understand coming from diplomatic channels. Both the statement, it appears that the first statement was issued by the Chinese embassy, and the Beijing got little upset with the kind of statement that has been issued. They maybe wanted to continue to up the pressure against India, and that's the reason why this midnight drama bite that happened yesterday. What is going to be most important to see as far as the future planning is concerned? How would the Chinese President Xi Jinping...
Ashish, just stay with us. We're being joined now by Professor Madhav Nalapath, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian. Professor Nalapath, we're seeing, of course, a flip-flop by the Chinese vis-a-vis, they're posturing on the issue of the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra disruption. What really explains the difference in stance that we've seen from that Chinese embassy statement and this video message?
Well, frankly, the harder the message, the more the input of the Chinese military in this whole process. And I'm sorry to say, the Chinese military is following in the footsteps of the American military. At one time, the American military was slavishly following the Pakistan Army's copybook on India. Whatever the Pakistan Army wanted the Americans to do on India, they would tell the American military, and the American military would then get the rest of the American policy establishment to do that. Today, unfortunately, a Chinese military is basically obeying what the Pakistan military wants it to do, which is create a situation with India which could end in a conflict. So that would be definitely to the benefit of Pakistan. It would not be to the benefit of India and China. But unfortunately, the Chinese military seems to have completely outsourced its India policy to the Pakistan military.
Right, and that's, of course, something that explains their aggressive stand. We leave it at that. Professor Nalapath, thanks for joining us with your perspective on this story. Thanks also to Ashish, who joined us earlier on that.